third session. We will be discussing here about containerization, container creation, containers management, and converting application as a containerized application. Okay, and accessing this application again from external world. So let me get started with this point. Where is our best way? I should go for and search something called one difference. If you want to understand containerization, we should understand what are the problems with the virtualization. Correct, no? So that's why I'm just typing here something called virtualization versus containerization. I look for image and I do come across one good image here. Let me just get the image. Can you see image?
Yes, sir.
Great. So remember early morning we were talking about something called virtual machines.
Yes.
Wait. So early morning I said that we can have separate virtual machines. So this diagram shows virtual machine style. I also drawn the same way. You were having hardware. On the hardware you'll get hypervisor. Then on the top of hypervisor you can have this one red colored one virtual machine, then second virtual machine, then third virtual machine, and fourth virtual machine. You really create number of virtual machines on this particular hypervisor. Okay, and we say our application running. But what is the common thing you observe inside this thing? So I don't think if you are interested to run this particular environment properly, how many operating systems will be running in this virtualization environment? Tell me. Guest OS, guest OS, guest OS. And might be if it is some another machine, that machine will be also having physical OS, if I'm not wrong. Am I right? So that means we really find ultimately guest OS, guest OS, guest OS, and plus and one more your main OS. And that is the work will be carried out. So that is what virtualization get. That means you really find compare it with the complete execution. Your actual applications are these applications. So applications and binaries. If you talk about it's a Java application in Java application, and here your jar files and JRE, your .NET applications, your .NET SDK, your web application Node.js application, and here's your complete node models and Node.js. That is what we call as a complete bundle. So in that area you define. So even that is also going to use your CPU and RAM, and plus this guest OS to run itself is microcontroller kernel also will be using RAM. So that means at this point in this diagram, if you just look around on the top of hypervisor, how many microkernels kernels will be working? How many kernels will running inside this? Three guest OS, three kernels will be running, no?
Yes, sir.
So these all kind of kernels are going to consume the same CPU and same RAM. And plus remaining hardware utilization will be made available for your application to run. And you're trying to make your application like a highly performance oriented applications. You'll only call your application highly performance oriented application when there is enough hardware resources are available for running that applications. Correct, no? So that was a disadvantage of virtualization part. So can't this thing will be replaced? Yes, this thing can be replaced. Can you see one diagram here? So in that diagram, same picture, same that application one and the binaries, application and binaries, application binaries. So what we can do one thing, rather than creating a virtual machine, can we create one particular container which will only contain that application and the binaries. No anything. In VM, what happened in VM? You get application and binaries along with OS. But containers contains only that application logic and their executable libraries and binaries. That's it. So that means inside I really find now unnecessary things which are available here called guest OS, they have been eliminated. Good, fantastic. And here we get something called hypervisor. Okay, you know, inside this picture, if you just look at what you get, you will have your infrastructure. On the top of it, you have operating system, and on the top of operating system, you will get one engine which is responsible for managing these all kind of containers. So, launching a container, closing a container, listing containers, moving containers. I think this all kind of thing work would be done by its engine. That engine we call as a container engine. So because of this reason, now what happened? How many kernels will be working in this case?
One
So in
kernel.
there is only one kernel. There will be only one kernel of the operating system will be working, and there might be some particular daemon process. Did you come across in Linux word something called as a daemon process? Do you know what is daemon process?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
The process which runs in a background, correct? No, the process which runs in a background silently. I think we call that particular process as a worker process, and we say that is a daemon process. So in your Linux operating system, we have to have some particular daemon process which act like a container engine, and that will take care of managing these all kind of containers on your machine. That means my server will become now lightweight, and I would be able to launch more than one applications. Here you can only deploy one, two, three. But if you just come across it inside this area, we might launch one, two, three, four, five, six. You will be able to host more than more than one containers compared to your virtual machines inside this area, and that is going to give the advantage here itself. So this container concept actually first Google introduced for themselves, and whatever their Gmail applications, and means this was the time containers. I think Google introduced this container concept in 2005 or 6 7 something, that time it was being introduced. But after a few years, there is one particular company called Docker. The Docker company come across with something called as a Docker engine. And as the Docker concept becomes so popular in 2000, I think 2010 or 2011, 12, I don't know exactly. So that time this concept so popularized because your virtual machines were no more required. And running a lot of virtual machines explicitly was actually a huge cloud cost also was involved into this area. So the most important thing today in this world, if you are deploying any application, cloud is nothing but how your application will use less cloud resources and you will have less recurring cost from the cloud. That's why everybody is thinking about finding some solution for that thing. So Docker come up with a solution using Docker engine, and they gave us information. If you really wanted to convert your application, then how you should write that particular commands to convert that application into Docker, correct? No, I think these people have been sharing that particular knowledge, and people have started writing those particular descriptive files, and they were able to create these applications, and they was run the applications. So this Docker come up with the two words, Docker Hub and Docker. Let me just open our same file. Let me go to my drive. ZI Mumbai day 2. This is today's notes file. I'm going to continue with the same file. So these all kind of text files will keep in a perfect flow of topics in which sequence we are conducting. Very good. As I said, the same word has come across. come across. Docker and Docker Hub. So what is exactly Docker? Docker is a container engine. Docker, first let me tell you, Docker is one particular, okay, worker process, or you may call daemon process. So this process act like container engine. So what is the advantage of this container engine? This container engine allows us to create containers. It allows us to run containers. It allows us to list containers. It allows us to kill containers. It allows us to kill containers, list containers, run containers, and so other things. Okay. So these all kind of things, actually operations will be done by the container itself and carry the whole kind of work. That is what simply information is given as a Docker. You need to see that on your machine that Docker is installed. So by default, Docker is not getting automatically installed with the Linux machine or Windows. If you're using Windows, there's a Docker for Windows you need to download. And if you're having a Linux, then you can simply use sudo docker sudo apt install docker.io. I think using that command, we will be able to install a Docker within your given Linux machine at all. So we will try these all kind of commands through our AWS virtual machine, which we learn how to create and use it here. Because right now my whole machine is Windows machine, so I haven't done any particular dual partition, and I don't want to again use some other virtualized platform for that thing. So that's why whatever demo we like to carry about this container creation and all this, we will do it through our AWS. So it's a kind of feeling that we are working in a cloud. Good. So I gave an idea. Container execution engine is Docker. The next question comes, what is Docker Hub? To make you understand better, I copy this word. Sorry, Docker Hub. Let me just copy this word. Let me come back to the tab. Let me type here Docker Hub. Docker Hub. We have a lot of stuff. There's a website I will call it www.dockerhub.docker.com. Docker Hub. I just get the first link itself. I click on this Docker Hub. Don't you think this name look like similar like a GitHub? Yeah.
Yeah.
Docker Hub. Docker Hub. GitHub. What is the common between both the words? Hub. And what is the meaning of hub? Hub means centralized place. So what does GitHub contains? I think every GitHub, GitHub is a kind of centralized place where number of people will log into the GitHub, correct? No? And they will be able to create their repositories. Am I right? So people try to push their repositories to where? GitHub. It's a centralized place where number of repositories, code repositories has been kept, and people can pull and push those repositories from GitHub to their developer environment or to the testing environment or to the production environment. That is what we call GitHub. The next question comes, then what is Docker Hub? So my simple answer for that thing, Docker Hub is a centralized place where companies can create their Docker container images, and that images they will push to this Docker hub, so that if that company is having multiple data centers and they wanted the same application they wanted to replicate in each and every data center, so during that time every data center operator, okay, will just go back and pull the image from this Docker hub which has been pushed by their developers team. So the same image will be available for all those 13 data centers globally, and that image will just run everywhere. So container images are kept in a Docker hub site, and these images can be pulled or pushed using Docker commands. So it's the one kind of hub. So can I just do one thing? I want to search something. So what kind of container images are available? One more thing. What is container first? That is also I want to know. Docker container. So what is exactly container? Docker container image is a lightweight, standalone, executable package of the software that includes everything you needed to run the application. Very good. In a very simplified way, we find this particular information available. Correct, no? And you have on this particular docker.com site this particular information. So you'll have application. So this is one container. This is another container. This is another container. These all kind of containers are nothing but like your containers where you will have inside that application and its libraries, application and libraries, and they will be run by using like a Docker engine. You know. So if I just look and understand, a container is a standard unit of software that packages up code and all its dependencies so that application runs quickly and reliably. One of the major challenge we always find whenever we wanted our applications get production ready application, you do very good kind of development, but if the installation process is going to be complicated, so during that time there are chances this particular uh, system may not get exactly available in a given time because there are certain human mistakes will be there, and because of that thing the installation process, if it is not properly done, I think the whole thing is just in a failure level itself. So why don't you get rid of this whole kind of stuff? That's why again, okay, this container concept has been introduced to you. Now I'm coming back to the Docker Hub. If I just type here something called what do you want? Can I get some container image for some .NET? I just type .NET, enter. What happened now here inside this? You really see as I type .NET. So from .NET point of view, there are so many kind of like container images are already kept. Ubuntu .NET ASP, okay, Parent lib AMD 64 .NET, JetBrains .NET, again some .NET, Amazon AWS Lambda .NET. So that means they have already got the ready-made images been kept somewhere, and these images always let updated. You find here inside. I just said .NET. I get a couple of images like a marketplace. Okay, you know, when you just go to a mobile phone and you find there's app store, you'll get a lot of apps available. Now you just choose which app you want to use it. Same thing. I wanted a environment. I wanted a container with some ready-made functionalities. I don't want source code. I can just go back and download and run. That's it. So if I just go back and type here something called like hello hyphen world, then I can find yes, one simple hello world container is also available. This hello world container we can always use for just testing purpose, whether our Docker engine is working perfectly and are we able to run any particular Docker contain image. That's why it is available. And let me just try something here. NGINX. Have you come across this NGINX word? Yes. During WPT. NGINX.
No, sir.
No, sir.
NGINX is like acting like a small web server. And on that small web server, see, web servers. It's just in Java you call no Tomcat web server, Tomcat server. So like that way we have NGINX. What is the command you see here? Does this command look like as a git command? Like a git command? Only thing in a git command we use, right? Git pull,
Get
git
pulled.
push, git pull, git push, git commit. Correct, no? Here our all commands will be now docker pull, docker push, docker add, like that way. So we call these are the docker commands. So this is the image is already available on somewhere Docker Hub site. So that means Docker Hub, it is a kind of centralized place where third party companies or principal companies like Microsoft, Google, IBM, they have kept those images for other people to use it, and they do not waste their time for doing the installation process and everything, okay, so that they can replicate their execution environment so rapidly through all over the world. So it's a kind of centralized repository for containers. So we wanted one thing. I wanted on web server. So I'll get the web server from here itself. And that web server, I don't have to install. I will just say this command. If I have got a Docker install in my machine, and I will be able to show that website is going to perfectly work inside this thing area itself. Okay. Someone can just go back and type here MySQL. Even you don't need to do installation for MySQL. Whatever your existing machine you have it here, if there is a Docker engine is available, can you get MySQL here? Okay. MariaDB. Then one is here, this one. So when I just click on this, what is the command? Have you observed the command?
Docker pull MySQL.
Docker pull command. And then we might get some information. So installation of MySQL might take some few minutes, but downloading this particular container using Docker execution engine and running, it is a hardly maximum 1 minute job. So companies are now saving their lot of operations time by using such kind of images from the globe and downloading and working on that thing. So you name any particular technology, the corresponding image will be always available. Let me just try something here. Spring Boot. So we might have certain containers where by default there is Spring Boot, sorry. Spring Boot. So can I get any particular Spring Boot libraries or something? Let me just try. So there are so many kind of containers available where the Spring Boot installation has been already carried out. Inside this, you just deploy your Spring Boot applications and the whole work could be carried out. So we get every technology, for every technology perspective, such kind of containers are available that we can use it here. That's why I say it's the centralized repository for this thing. So if you can sign up to this particular Docker Hub, you also will be able to create your own container image using Docker, and you will be able to push that particular container image from your local machine to this Docker Hub using Docker push command. It is exactly the same command we use in git push. Great, fantastic. Now I understood both the steps, all those things. Now I want to go further. I understood this thing, centralized repository, that's good. Right. Now our next job, if I understood this basics, can you really go and show in a practical way? So that means now we have to go for something called installing Docker. Starting Docker. Okay. Pulling existing containers from Docker Hub. Testing, sorry, running containers. So we have to perform this pretty tough. And once you understand that, then we'll also understand how to create a container image. Okay. How to build container and run custom container using Docker. That is what exactly we would like to do it here. So, that is what exactly I'm trying to mention. So if I want this, all those things, so I would like to perform these all steps. So one way you can do this thing on your local machine also, but for that thing, if it's a Windows, so for Windows, there is a one particular software given called Docker for Windows. Docker for Windows. I don't know whether I install or not. Docker for Windows, no, I never use, because whenever I want to do some kind of work with the Docker, I always try to prefer myself for going in a cloud and trying all those things out there. So I will also stick to the same point. I don't want anybody containers will be created on my local machine, because I would get enough hardware in my cloud EC2 instance, and there I could do every kind of work. So that's why I decided all those steps just now I said here, that I want to use it, and I would like to understand this containerization process very well. So I would go back, use the same AWS account, use one EC2 instance, and I'll do all the stuff inside. So I think last time I had terminated my instance, no? If you remember.
Yes, sir.
Oh, AWS console. Trying to access AWS console, trying to log into the AWS console. So I think this is the third time you are getting repeated with this particular process. I want to use root as a user. So I'm coming back again to my AWS console, EC2. Instance running 0. Very fast. I'll do it. Launch instance. Giving name called Docker server, just for my understanding. Using Ubuntu. Selecting free tier. Using some key pair if I want. Try underscore Juhu, just for my understanding. Using ppk. Create key pair. This file is being downloaded. Amount set. Everything as it is. Launch instance. So my instance ready. Okay. Now what is the status? Still pending. Waiting to get it into running state. So rapidly we are trying to create these virtual machines, and using this virtual machine, this Amazon EC2 instance, where I would like to build this whole kind of picture. Done. Now I want to connect. So which option we used to use normally? That actions, no?
Action.
Now today I will not use this because I would like to show another way of getting connected. Correct, no? Using Putty. So if you download Putty on your machine, you'll get this icon Putty. It's a small Windows-based tool. It asks me a question. Give me the IP address of that server which you want to connect. So if your server might be available in Amazon Cloud, or might be in Google Cloud, or in Microsoft Azure Cloud, if you have a PPK file and its IP address and the login username, you can connect from this tool to that machine remotely. So what is IP address? I define this IP address, correct? No, I copy this public IP address. I come back to the tool. I'm pasting this particular IP address here. So I like to connect to this host machine, which is in Mumbai, and this tool is running in my Pune based machine. It always connect using port number 22 because 22 is the port used only for this particular SSH point of view. Next, can you go and find here something called appearance? Can you go back and find here something called connection? Yeah. So what is the auto login username for this? I think that user they called us, they told us that it is Ubuntu, no? When that virtual machine was created, so that time they gave us information key for this by default root user is Ubuntu. So I just type that name here. Done. I given that name through which user account you need to connect. Good. I provide the information, IP address. Now I'm coming back and I'm finding there's a SSH option available. I click inside. I go back and find there's something called auth given. Under this auth, See the option connection, SSH, auth. You will get the option called credentials. And once you receive this credentials, under this credentials, you will find, please give me the private key file for authentication. Have you observed?
Yes.
So when I say browse, definitely on my downloads folder, this try_jo.ppk file is available. I just click, give it, and then I'll press button open. So it says that yes, the host is key is not been host, but do you want to get connected? So it's just like alert basis for me. I'll just say accept. As I just select, I just give accept. You really find now the same Linux console you can see here. You can come to this particular boutique line. There is option called change settings, where you may try to change the font, colors, appearance, font. Let us increase the font to something called 14. Let's make it bold. Say apply, apply. I think now all of us can see very well. Correct, no? Good. So clear screen. We are here. So we are again connected to the Linux machine. Now what do we want to do? We have got a perfect ground ready for going for containerization and using containers and running all the things. So we need to first learn one thing. We have to first install Docker. But if you want to install Docker, our first one important step we have to do. What is that? Sudo apt update. Let me update this Linux with latest packages. Okay, now your Linux has been updated properly. Now here I don't need to do anything over here apart from this. That's it. Now I wanted to check Docker. So there's a command called Docker -v or -version. No, enter. What happened? It says that the command Docker is not found. Why? Because the Docker is not installed. So what is the command to install that Docker? The command is given here. Sudo apt install docker.io. So can I just type the command sudo apt install docker.io. Enter. You really find now the Docker software related packages now are ready to be installed on your machine. Correct? So can I just select, do you want to continue? I'll write here yes. Now here my Docker is getting installed. So now can you just use the command and see Docker version? So it says now you have a Docker 24 version is available. That means on your machine now Docker is also installed. So simple. One command you just try. Okay. So simple command has type and that has done the whole installation. And accordingly now you find things are really getting worked out. Chalo. Docker engine is installed. That means now here you have a Docker install according to the diagram whatever we have seen. Now what is required? Where is that image? Where do you come across that image? Yeah, this one. We have operating system. On the top of operating system we have got Docker. But now we wanted to see whether there are any containers available.
Yes.
So I will just try command now. Now, if I want to know how many containers are there right now, so there is a concept called any particular Docker is responsible for running containers. You need to see that key on your machine, you should have container images installed. So like you normally say, there is a exe file and there is a process. Do you know what is the difference between exe file and process? In operating system, we might have come across executable file and the process. Are they same? Are they different?
They are different.
So we say exe is a binary file, correct? No?
Yes.
And process is nothing but the outcome of that particular exe submitted to the OS. So whenever exe file is submitted to the OS, then instance of that particular exe is created as a process. So that is why we always say process is nothing but instance of a running application. So similarly, in Docker terminology, every particular software which is given in the form of containers form, it is given in the form of called container images. And when these images are run, they become containers. So I would like to know, are there any container images available right now on my Docker machine? So there is a command. Please write down these commands. Sudo docker images. So if I type sudo docker images command, it says repository tag image id created size. But I don't see there is any image being available. If I want to know how many containers are right now there, so you use the command. Now these are the images. I want to know the instances, means actual containers. So there is another command, sudo docker images and sudo docker ps. Sudo docker ps, right? Sudo docker ps. If I use this command, I will be able to see number of containers which are running on my machine. Now, since I don't have container images on my environment, how could this containers will be running? So that's why containers are zero because images are zero. So then you'll ask question, then how do we download container images? Correct, no? So just now we saw that command. Remember? Sudo docker pull. Yes, no? So can I use one command? Sudo docker pull hello hyphen world, enter. So from Docker Hub, this hello world image will be downloaded to this particular machine. So from Docker Hub, this download is happen and you really find that image is downloaded. Now, can you use command just to check whether really there is image available or not? So what is that command we use to check images? Can you see now? We can see there's a hello world latest and image ID and created 14 months ago. The size of that image is very small. It's just lightweight image just to test for your this thing. But I want to use web server. What is that web server we saw last time? NGINX, no?
Yes.
So can I find what is the command I will for that NGINX? I think that we were trying to observe somewhere here inside Docker Hub. Explore. Here. I'll type under Docker Hub. I'll go back and search for NGINX. NGINX. So what is the command here? Have you observed?
Docker
Docker pull
pull
NGINX. So sudo, now this command is Docker, but actually whenever we want to use this command with the root account, we always write sudo word, no, in Linux. So that's why sudo docker pull nginx. Let me come back to my putty client. Sudo Docker pull nginx. Enter. Now you really find this nginx web server image is now getting downloaded, and we have got that image. Can I again try that command sudo docker images? Okay. Sudo docker images command I just tried. I just clicked it. Enter. Right. So we got both images available. So those images which you wanted to use it, you can always need to ensure those images might have been already been pushed in a Docker hub. And if any images are available in Docker hub made publicly available for anyone to use it, they can simply go back to their machine, have a Docker install, and just use Docker pull commands and give the proper name. We have both the things available inside this area. Great. Now, if you already have some Java application or a .NET application or Node.js application, can this Node.js application also will be converted in the form of Docker container image? Yes. Developer need to learn one small technique to convert any particular Java project or .NET project or Python project as a containerized project. They will always add one extra file in their project repository. That file is called as a Docker file. Okay. So creating custom container image ready web application needs one file, Docker file. Okay. So accordingly, now let me just do one thing. Can I show my project which I already created for you? github.com site. And if I just go back and try to show repositories, I will again use that TFL store again. I purposefully kept this thing ready so that students can very easily and fast will be able to do it here. You know, this is a complete project available. In that complete project, can you find there is a lot of files are there, but along with that, there's one more file is added,
Docker file.
Docker file. Remember this Docker files, D is always going to be capital. Docker file. If I open this file, what does that file contains? Hardly few commands. Hardly few commands. It does not doesn't it look like as some kind of like a shell script? What is shell script? I think in Linux you write some SH file, no? Series of Linux command you keep in one sequence and you try to submit that particular complete file, your SH command, and you find each and every command is getting executed one by one. I think that is called batch processing, if I'm not wrong, correct, no? So number of individual Linux commands has been clubbed together in one particular batch. Number of jobs has been submitted in one batch, and that complete batch has been executed. So like that way, what do you find inside this area? This is the Docker file where you are going to give the command which Docker will do for you yourself. So what is that command? Okay, whenever this container will be created, so what does that container should contain? So number one, whenever Docker engine is going to create a container, we wanted first which version of Node.js. So the command is called from node 18. So the Docker engine, after reading this Docker file, will be able to install Node.js automatically. Then what is going to be a working directory? Working directory
Slash.
/ app. So that means we wanted to create something called like a working directory as a app. Second thing, what do you want to do? I want to copy this particular package.json file into that app. Am I right?
Yes.
Okay. Then next, run which command?
npm install.
Then what is that? Copy dot slash app. Means whatever you have in a current directory, you please copy everything inside what? App. And after that, what you are using inside this area? CMD node server.js. Notice this is all kind of process we did manually somewhere in our first session.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So that means when you're writing Docker file, you're slightly introducing automation. Now this is a small Node.js application, so I just did all kind of work here. But tomorrow it may happen that no, you also want to install Node.js and you also install some other kind of third-party libraries, or you may be also going to get some other particular runtime. So I think we can add some different commands inside this area. So these are called Docker commands. These are the kind of commands batch has been created. This file will be the inside, correct? No. So same thing. There would be a Docker file for Java as well. There will be a Docker file for Node .NET as well. I hope we would be able to see somewhere sample example for uh, Docker file sample for Java. So if any Java applications to be containerized, so what is to be done? So Docker site has given that explanation to you. The command still remains same. Let me find. So what they're trying to tell us, if you already have some Java applications put in a repository, you first clone it. Okay, that has been cloned. The next thing, it says that you need to create your own kind of Docker commands, Docker init. Okay. Then you really need to go back under this area and you need to follow. No, they are not showing Docker file. They just give me the right information. I want to see actual Docker file. Docker file. So when you say Docker file, what are the commands your Docker file contains? So what is the meaning of add? Add local or remote files. What is the command CMD? Specify the default commands. What is the meaning of copy? Copy the files and directories. What is the command we have seen? Run. Execute particular command. Okay. Do you want to attach some more volume for it so that the data will be copied? I think these are all kind of commands are kept, correct? No, and such kind of commands we can use to create a Docker file. So I just want to see, is there a particular sample Docker file Java related things available? I don't see here inside. Somewhere example. Here we would get. We just saw we are just observing our Node.js Docker file, but here we could see a sample code. Some Java code is written. Now can you get here? Docker file. If one small Java code is available, I wanted that Java code to be run on my machine as a container. So during that time, I really wanted to have this particular Docker file created. So what is the command written here? From? And what is the version given? Java 8.0. Copy dot where www Java. Working directory where www Java. Okay, means I want that everything to go there inside. Run Java C hello.java. CMD Java hello. That means run your Java dotless file. Simple like a Java code available to be converted in the form like a containerized code. For every technology, similar things are there. So always there's a consistency. So when I come across inside my clone, I also find this is the file. Rest of the code is just as it is. It's a plain our Node.js code. Just that is what you downloaded. And the Docker file also been kept here. Now what is my responsibility? Now my responsibility, I wanted this particular repository to be cloned, which contains the Docker file. Correct, no? because without this Docker file, I will not be able to generate another images. So can I come to my repository? Can I copy this repository path? Can I come back to this tool? Now, let me go back and use, what is it command? Git clone, na? So that repository I will be able to clone. Your repository TFL store is been cloned. When you just say CLS, when you just use the command ls, you will find TFL store, cd TFL store. You really find you are in that folder. ls, you really find everything is inside. Good. Now we have a containerized application. Listen carefully. We have a containerized application, but whether its image is created, no, containerized application source code is available, but its container image is not created. Still, even if I just go back and get the command sudo docker images, how many images you have it here? Only 2. I wanted my own image should be also there inside, but for that thing, the image is supposed to be created. So there is a command called sudo docker build. Okay. If I want to create any particular container image, the command is called sudo docker build. So sudo docker build space hyphen T stands for target, and I like to specify some name, I think, for this. So redact space dot. So sudo docker build hyphen T target name I want to give for that image as a CDAC image, and dot means current folder. Why? Because in the current folder you should search for a Docker file. So this dot is very, very important. With the help of this dot, no, Docker will be able to search a Docker file in a given folder and will run each and every command which is mentioned inside that Docker file. And that command, it will execute, and based on that it will create one image here itself. I hope my command is right. Sudo docker build hyphen T CDAC. Enter. Could you get now what is happening in this thing? Have you observed? I think whatever commands you have written, those commands are getting executed. See, node is getting downloaded. Everything is automated now. You just need to keep watch. That's it. So step 1 of 6, step 2 of 6, step 3 of 6, step 4 of 6. NPM install is going on. It is trying to use npm install command. That means it is supposed to read the packet.json file, and according to that packet.json file, it should be able to download those node models inside.
Listen.
We are just waiting.
Can you share the Docker commands that we are used here?
Yeah, I'll type these all commands. Okay, don't worry. We'll let this thing. We'll wait for some time. Why it's not? Is there something I modified in that Docker file? Yeah. So it was taking time to get that particular vulnerabilities. Yes. Now next 6 commands and work has been done. Successfully built. Now why don't you go back and check that images command? Sudo docker images. And what do you observe? Have you observed SEDAC images created? Yes.
Yes, sir.
And this SEDAC image is going to be there on the top of whose image? Node.js image. See the size of that node image, 1.9 GB. And what is the size of your SEDAC image now on the top of 1.36? That means if you really wanted to see this container will work, so during that time, these both country images will be running together and you will be getting your applications running perfectly. So don't think now what we have done, we have really taken care. So when this all kind of images are created on your machine, listen carefully. If this all kind of images are created, I can remove that source code also. I don't require source code because now that images will be run. Now the next question come to your mind. Now how do I run this particular images? जैसे एक प्रकार से हमने ये एग्जीक्यूटेबल फाइल तो डाउनलोड कर ली लेकिन उसकी प्रोसेसेस कैसे करना है, लॉन्च कैसे करना है, करेक्ट नो? You just tell me one thing. Did I enable the firewall for this particular environment? वो
No, sir.
अलाउ ट्रैफिक अभी किया था क्या मैंने इसको? ये जो हम वर्चुअल मशीन जो यूज कर रहे हैं इस पब्लिक आईपी एड्रेस वाले का, इसका फायरवॉल हमने सेट किया क्या? ये जो इंस्टेंस हम बात करें ना,
Only SSH client is there, sir.
सिक्योरिटी इनबाउंड रूल सेट नहीं किया शायद, ऐसा मुझे लग रहा है.
No,
कौन
sir.
चीज आ रही?
कुछ पार्ट तो नहीं.
No, we haven't done it. See,
No.
otherwise we would do everything and we'll say why my website is not getting accessible. So edit inbound rules. What is that rule? Remember? All traffic,
All traffic. First,
IPv in v4,
IP4.
and then save rules. Okay. Now done. So this thing is done. So I think now we are in a safe level. I'm coming here inside. Now my first job. Can you run this container? Clear screen so that all of you can see. Sudo docker images. But I want to run SEDAC. So the command is sudo docker run. Sudo docker run SEDAC. The name of that image. Sudo docker run SEDAC, that image. And then you write here something called -D for detached mode. -P for the port number. And remember what is that particular port number we kept? 8000, no?
Yes.
So,
Yes,
alright,
sir.
Yes, sir.
yeah.
Yes.
8000 colon 8000. Internal port, what should be internal port and what should be external port? So we are keeping external port and internal port will remain same. Internal port means the actual port in which it is running inside that particular container, and external port means how outside world will be able to connect to that particular port. So there's a mapping you do it here, because sometimes I don't want to expose in which actual original port my web application is hosted. So we are just trying to make security point of view. So, but I just want to just keep it same. 8000, 8000. I have my command is written properly. Sudo docker run stack dash d dash p 8000 colon 8000. I think my command looks okay. Let me try enter. Oh,
Sir,
what
double
is it?
space आ गया शायद after D.
Arey, हाँ, might be dash d.
So hyphen D is bad option. So hyphen D may not be available.
No, it is required. Dash d. Or it should be first dash d then stack. Sudo docker run sudo docker run dash d dash p, and then I write here cdac. Yes, that was my mistake. So sudo docker run dash d dash p 8000 cdac, and now you find you really get that particular image running. Now in this case, if I just go back and type the command called sudo docker ps, last time there was no container shown, no? But now can you see there is one container is running? The container ID has been shown to you. The name, the container belong to which image is available. When this container started. Now can I just go back and access this website from the IP address? So here's my public IP address. I'm copying and typing here, and I'm giving the port number 8000. Are we getting a website? Your website is as it is same, but this website is not running in a virtual machine, but the website is actually acting like running inside the container image, inside the container instance, and just working as it is. So this container giving you isolation for your application running in a separate environment. So there are chances with the help of this Docker, I can create 4 containers. In one container, I will have Java web application running. In another container, I will have some Python based application running. In another container, I will have something called Node.js application running. And these 3 containers are going to be run by the Docker. And these 3 containers they are running, people are accessing these all kind of web applications. So the person who is using a web application, they do not know also whether there is a separate computer running or whether there is separate virtual machine running or whether there's some kind of environment is there. Because the ultimate aim for the end user, it should be accessible. And that's just working as it is. Now, at the same time, you also might have observed, what was that? Nginx, no? Remember, Nginx also image also running, no? So I want to know, can that particular web server Nginx also I would be able to run? Because right now only one container instance is running, but there's Nginx also available. Then what is the proper command to run this Nginx? Might be the command is going to remain same. Sudo docker run nginx. No, again I'm making mistake. Sudo docker run dash d dash p Now I don't know in which port number this particular Nginx is going to be hosted. So first, let me just go back and find that official documentation of Docker Hub. Docker Hub. Yeah, Nginx page. If you scroll below, their documentations are there. Now, please remember, if you want to be a good professional in the world, you need to know in a short time duration, you should have a technique of reading the documentation and finding essential information for your use of your use. So, can you get what is the command? Sudo docker run, then yeah, yes, dash d dash p 8080 colon 80. Okay, no? So that means I should be able to type this command using like this way. 8080 colon 80. Now in this case, you really find the internal port is 80, but outside you'll always access using 8080. Now what is the name of your image? Nginx, no? See the image name is given here. So can I type Nginx? Right? So if our command is right, the return, then it should work. Enter. Can you get again some numbers generated and it just says that it is running. Now can I go back and use command sudo docker ps?
Yes. One more image will be added.
So you really observe now there are two images. There are two images. No, there are two instances running. See, whenever you say image, no, it is a binary file. These are images repository. When you see repository, that means they are images. And when you see container ID, that means they are instances. Okay. And when someone use the word called container, container means this instance, and image means this repository. So now I really find there are two container instances are running. Now, if that is the situation, can I just copy this URL in another tab? Even you can also access the same IP address and port number. You will get the same thing. What is the port number we mentioned outside word? 8080, no? You get welcome to Nginx. It's a hardly one web page hosting your website, and you can do it here. You can go back, make some changes. You can attach some HTML files, and that can be done. So now you will find there are two container instances are running, and there are almost 5 container images are available, and the Docker is taking care of everything. Correct, no? Good. So nowadays, let me tell you, almost every application, if it is in under production, no, these all applications are actually run using container concept. Every Java application on a production environment is being deployed as a container image. Every .NET application, every application which is a business application, they are now containers application, because managing such kind of containers are very simple. This image is available, the image is created here. Now, if you already have that image here, now you know that image ID also here. What is the image ID? SEDAC. Could you get the SEDAC image ID here? This one. So if you have this image ID, and if you already have a login to the Docker Hub, so in that case, you can really go back and type simple one command, sudo docker push. And you can specify that image ID here. But if you want to push, you should have first Docker Hub ID created. Then what will happen? This 1.36 gigabytes of image, it will be pushed to the Docker Hub. So from your local machine, this image 1.3 GB will be now pushed to the Docker Hub. And since it is a Docker Hub, now I have almost 45 offices all over the world, and they have their own data centers over there. So I will just send one message ki I have pushed our image to the Docker Hub. Please replicate. So remaining data centers might be having some automation. As soon as they find some particular image available, they will just download and they will run it here. So it is not going to happen that in my Europe server application is working fine, but in my uh, Indian servers, these applications are behaving differently, and in China it is behaving differently. In America, we wanted, because even a small update has been added. No, we wanted to see that update gets available globally. Correct, no? So this deployment process, previously it was very tedious process. I still remember whenever in 1999 we wanted to deploy our one small software to our customers. We were having 4 customers and they were using our own product. So we have to carry that those CDs, yeah, CDs. Under that CDs, those newly modified code, that particular executable files, no, we used to carry and we used to install. Then we go for next and then next. And again, after 3 months, if there's some kind of new things we done here, again we used to copy into the CDs and we again go to that side and again do it here, because these people are not actually having the kind of business. Might be something like a small medical store application. So that means we were keeping at least 1 or 2 person only responsible for this particular taking the CD and doing the installation and updations. And if in that thing, if the installation was not that updation related things, if that wouldn't have been done properly, then the whole problem would have been captured. And again, we have to carry again 2 different CDs for the CD set. And if one CD set is one CD set is getting corrupted, so at one place the installation has been successfully done, and in the second place, since the CD was corrupted, that's why that did happen. And if you're talking something like a global presence of your organization and you wanted every particular level, you should always provide the latest changes. So I think this Docker concept has really solved that particular deployment issues. Good, fantastic. Only thing you require Docker Hub command, Docker Hub login ID, and this thing. I don't have it, so I will not try it here. Now you will say, can I type the command sudo Docker images? I have images. Sudo Docker PS. I have my images running. I have what my instance is running and my this thing. Now I want to close one website. I want to close one website. So what is the command? The command is sudo docker kill. What is the command? I say that sudo docker kill, and you can pass that particular container ID. Let us try sudo docker kill. Which one you want to kill? I want to kill Nginx. So what is the ID for Nginx? Engine, I think this is latest one, no? This one. Okay. Done. This is the ID given. If I press enter, what happened? Now go back and check sudo docker ps. Now can you see only one one container is running and one container instance is removed? And in that situation, if I just refresh this page, the sites cannot be reached because the container in which this Nginx web server was running, that container itself has been killed. Their image is still there in that particular your instance, that your EC2 instance, but it is not running because its container is not running. So sudo docker kill is the command for what? Removing that image. And you again want to start the image. What was the command? Sudo docker run. Are you getting? Sudo docker run this kind of commands. So these are the major commands people always use to manage your Docker and your containers. So being as a SEDAC student, I think at least this, there are a lot of other commands also there, but I think these are the most important commands. You should know it very well for making yourself comfortable with this thing. So today, whatever we did, is all kind of role of what we call is a DevOps work. So if someone asks you question ki, what is exactly the work role of the DevOps? So DevOps team members are actually doing operations management, and they are actually creating Docker files, and they are actually creating containers, and they are actually pulling containers. They are actually making ensure that containers are running, and they are actually managing the environment. That means they are actually maintaining the production. So they also don't know internally what is the website. They also don't know inside what is that Java code or .NET code. They are totally unaware of the development, but they have very good knowledge of Linux. They are very good at in commands. They are very good at in shell scripting, and they understand this infrastructure architecture. What is container? What is container image? What is Docker? Why containerization? And they do that work. So if you work for any multinational company, no, I think that DevOps engineer is responsible for managing thousands of containers, and he's just doing that whole work from his own home, like work from home. You are simply connected using laptop, and you are managing the containerized environment of one of the US based customers, and that is somewhere in your data center. But actually, you're doing everything work from your own, some Jalna or Nasik side, your rural place where you have got interconnectivity on your laptop. So that's why I'm observing so many seniors are enjoying their rural life as well as they're earning money like Bangalore, and they're trying to reduce their cost, and they are trying to save this money for the future point of view, because they are thinking, yeah, I don't know next time whether I'll have my job or not. I don't know about this AI. Let me just keep saving. I think that's a good part that this cloud computing is giving. But if you really learn this kind of technologies, I think you can work from anywhere, but you'll always be associated, attached with the latest technology. So in this whole process, if you want to stay alive in this particular IT world, there is no any other alternative. There is no any other alternative. You have to keep continuously studying. You have to keep your continuous learning going on. Without continuous learning, you cannot survive in IT industry, because always new versions will be launched. Always there are new DevOps tools will be introduced. Always there are some new technologies will be worked. Okay. 10 years before, we did not know what is exactly AI part. Okay. When in 2024, when 20, sorry, 2014, when we were doing some kind of work. So that time I used to conduct .NET. I never heard the word something called as a generative AI and AI and all those chat GPT and all those things. I think the chat GPT word has introduced in that particular Corona time, correct? No, COVID, and the whole world got changed. So previously, Google was the only one search engine available for us to make any kind of search. And nowadays, ChatGPT, everything is available. The thing which is the repetitive work, you can just do it so fast, quickly. So the rate of speed of introducing new technology is getting double and double and double. Exponentially, the speed is getting increased. Okay, now keeping staying with that tune speed for a professional, it is really going to be challenge. You will be able to ride this particular wave if you keep yourself balanced using your learning activity. I'm just trying to tell you that. So somewhere you observe it is not just the coding, along with the coding, infrastructure architecture, and this particular commands and this particular Dockerization commands and this particular way of visualizations we have to learn. Correct, no? So that is what exactly I wanted to convey. Now, I think you said that Ravi sir, please give all those particular commands because you were watching and it was very difficult for you to type in a notebook. So can I just do one thing? सारे आएंगे सारे नहीं आए कोई बात नहीं I'll copy one command through Docker. Give the sequence of the commands also for you. Sudo Docker build that in a target whatever name to give, correct, no? So CDAC is the name given, that is a container image name and space dot. Then I use command sudo docker ps sudo docker images sudo docker kill and some id of that particular container, correct, no? Anything which I forgot, tell me. Acha, if you want to install Docker, what is that? Anyone written down in your notebook? Sudo Docker, sudo apt install docker.io. So if you use this command is used for what purpose? Installing Docker. Let me check whether Docker running or not. If you want to check, no, there is a command I will call sudo Docker status. It is sudo Docker. If you want to check the command Docker is running or not, the command is I think sudo system ctl sudo system ctl docker status, I think. No. What is
So
it?
we'll have to
Well,
install the systemctl first.
I think just sudo system ctl docker, if I'm not wrong. Non command verb docker system sudo system ctl, because when you write sudo system ctl, I have to give which service you are like to talk about. Which is the service? Sudo system ctl. Let me try only sudo system ctl status. So it will give all status. That means whatever services are running, they're all services status that will show you. Can you get here? Okay. So that tells me, yes, this service is running. Is there a daemon? Yes. Docker service. But there is a proper command available, just which will tell you the sudo docker ctl sudo status sudo system ctl status docker. sudo system data spelling. This is the command. What is the command? Sudo systemctl status, and after that you should write docker. Okay, so if you don't use command from long duration, no, so there are chances that you also may slightly make mistake. Sudo systemctl status docker, that will tell me the status is active, running, how much memory, okay, what is the process ID, what is the C group, and that information. So what is the command I use now? Tell me. Sudo systemctl status docker. I hope this systemctl command you might have learned during your Linux practical. If I want to check whether my MySQL running or not, how to check it here? Sudo systemctl status MySQL. If you want to know whether my MongoDB is running or not, what are right here? Sudo systemctl status MongoDB. All those particular services running in a background, they don't have their front end. So it would be very difficult for you being as a network, as a machine system administrator, to figure out which are those services running, which are those services not running. So that time these commands have been used. So have you understood? I know this particular thing, you might have observed, sir, in our life, first time we have seen so many kind of commands in one sequence. So we are only trying to understand, we are only trying to understand. But if you ask us to reproduce it again, so we would really require at least one day to step by step go and implement all those things. Correct, no?
Yes, sir.
Because you will say, sir, coding I can understand. Coding, but here, even if one command is slightly been wrong, the whole picture will be collapsed. So that's why we need to know recipes very well. So can I just write down the steps? Tell me. Whatever I just did, I wanted to mention their steps here.
Yes,
I
sir.
hope in SDM I have given those steps. That repository which I created. If it is not there, then I'll write down. GitHub. See, I'm taking the full advantage of GitHub so that wherever my students, they will be able to have these all latest information. And even I don't have to again reproduce that information every time. SDM. Could you find here? Continuation, containerized application. Continuation, containerized application. So Dockerizing Node.js web application. Docker file. That image. Okay. Docker image. What is Docker image? What is this thing? So according to Docker, there are set of primary Docker image commands we have to use. Means every command information has been given. Can you get the steps? Good, fantastic. I already mentioned those steps. Create Node.js application. Add Docker file to the Node.js application. Define that automation script in that particular Docker file. Now push that complete Node.js application to the GitHub repository. Now go back and create that EC2 instance. clone that particular repository into your EC2 instance. Install Docker. Start Docker. Build Docker container. Ensure container image is created. Start container. Check website is available. Ensure the firewall of that Linux virtual machine has sent that particular traffic from anywhere. Go back and access the website from your local machine. List down all the container instances. List down all container images. Kill unnecessary containers. Remove images. So that I didn't show you. Suppose you want to remove particular image, then what do you do? In this case, I just did one thing. Clear. Sudo docker images. I got this all images. Now don't think this NGINX image is there, but actually we don't require it, no? Because we don't have its any particular instance running. Then why you're keeping this image here itself? I want that image also to be removed from this particular machine. So what to do? The command is sudo
Remove.
docker RMI. What is the command?
RMI.
Yeah, RMI stands for remove image. And give that image ID. And I press enter. Unable to detect image is being stopped. What's saying? Error response from domain conflict. Unable to delete. Which one I am trying to delete? FFF03, na?
Yes, sir.
Did we kill that image? Did we? Let me just go back and check and see that sudo docker ps.
It is killer.
Yeah, I killed it. Then I will just do one thing. -F means forcefully. Understood? If I am finding it is giving some response because of the conflict, but still I want it. It says no, must be forced. Have you observed? So I use -F. Enter. Now the image is untagged, removed. Now can you use command sudo docker images? Now you find Nginx image is removed, no?
Yes.
So don't think here the complete job of this particular DevOps engineers will be just doing reshuffling of those images and reorganizing all those things. So if I could use analogy, you will be very laughing about the role of DevOps engineer. Think about it is one shopping mall, and that shopping mall, there is one particular serviceman working in that particular shopping mall. Might be it's a shoe palace, and work you are working as a staff. So आपका काम है क्या? Your work is you have to just keep everything at the right place. Sales teams are responsible for inviting customers and showing those particular products. And that time, salesperson wanted this particular shop, that particular show, that particular branded shoe, that particular branded shoe. So during that time, you being as that particular staff, no, you will just get that particular sample and pass him to him. And if that particular customer goes, then it is your job. Whatever those all kind of materials you kept there, no, you have to again organize the right place, because again next time some other particular thing will come back. So you are just doing housekeeping job of all the containers, and you ensure your shop is running fantastically good, and sales team is actually able to deal with the customers, and they will not waste their time for this particular arrangement of your boxes and everything. So like that way, software developers are going to build softwares, and DevOps engineers will be just managing those particular software images, and just doing they are just doing like a reshuffling, arranging, and doing all kind of stuff. So this particular DevOps jobs people will like very first, and you will also say it's very good job, such a fantastic. If I have good commands, then I think that's good career. Yes, I think some of most of them also get good salary, but might be after 1 year, no, you'll be totally frustrated. Why? Because this whole work is so monotonous, no? Kill job, add job, kill containers, check containers, reproduce containers, migrate containers. So there's no any particular technical part. Yeah, technical part was there, but that you already gained it. Now there's no any kind of now change. So it's just like you are managing the production environment. So in production environment, what is important? Keeping things running is most important. So there is no creativity. At least in development, you have creativity where you are using your brain, you are using your creative thinking, uh, logical thinking to build software. Okay, no? In DevOps, initially you learn lot of tools. Till that time, the tool is expert. Till that time you don't. Till that time, you don't have any particular feature known. Then you'll love that tool. But once you know all the features of that tool and you have tried all the possibilities, no, then there is nothing left for you to learn something. But you will just do that repetitive task daily and daily and daily. It is exactly one particular teacher is going every day and conducting the same kind of sessions repeatedly, same thing, same thing, same thing. And he's doing almost for more than 10 years. I think such kind of frustrated teachers I have seen. And they are carrying their teaching profession for next 40 years. तो कितने सारे generations को उन्होंने खराब किया होगा? If they haven't used creative mindset of teaching, they have just repeated the same thing, same thing, same thing, same thing again. Because they also lost the charm of teaching. Because they did not get a chance to upgrade something. Otherwise, they didn't have mindset to upgrade themselves. Same thing for a DevOps career also like that way. DevOps career is only good when you keep learning new tools and applying new tools. But that totally depends on the company's environment. If company wanted that particular environment, then company will ask you to make yourself trained. Then you will have some kind of target in front of you. Even if you decide that you want to learn something new, and after learning, if it is not going to give you any particular revenue, are you really going to learn it? I am slightly doubtful about it. Now everybody is just trying to learn because they want to get job. So if there is no job, like a dream kept in front of you, it's very few people will actually focus on the learning part. Okay, no? So this is what exactly another black side of the DevOps profession I'm trying to share. Great. I think we have seen about this whole stuff. We discussed. Now I wanted you will do it on your machine. You will create that AWS, you will install this Docker, and you'll get yourself comfortable. What are steps? The steps are already there in a SDM, containerized app. The link is available here. Containerized app. Okay.
Yes.
And these commands, I have already saved it here inside. What was the last command I used for removing purpose?
Sudo
Sudo docker
docker
RMI and that image ID, no?
image ID
And
and hyphen force. F.
hyphen F means force.
Yes.
Great. So like that way, our today's day was totally DevOps day. And we learned DevOps means a very disciplined way of working with the code. Working with the code, working with software. Correct? Yesterday we were discussing, yesterday's our time was totally on what? Designer mindset, no?
Yes.
Today, DevOps mindset,
Managing the
Tomorrow-
function.
and tomorrow, testers mindset.
Testing the
Testers mindset. So whatever time we are having, we are trying to make a justice so that you will be properly introduced to all those things. You see practically things very well. Like that way. Okay.
Sir,
Don't worry.
As a fresher, this much knowledge of Docker is enough, or we should explore.
This much of knowledge is very, very, very sufficient.
Okay, sir.
Might be at interval they will ask you question, what is the difference between container and container image? Tell me the role of Docker file. Correct?
Yes.
Then they will ask you question, do you know how to install Docker? They will ask you question, what does container contains? What is the role of that Docker execution engine? And just to see whether you really did or not, they will ask one of the command out of that. That's it.
Okay, sir. And sir, what is that Kubernetes? I also heard about Kubernetes.
Yes, I
Kubernetes.
think I'll explain. Kubernetes is something. Now, these all stuff, whatever we did right now, who is taking care of closing and starting this container? We know.
Yes.
Now, if you want to deal with something called like a 7,000 containers, how do you manage it?
It's manually it is hard, difficult.
So manually, one person cannot write this all kind of commands. So we want some kind of orchestration tool. Are you getting no? So can we have some kind of orchestration tool who will take care of this container management for us? So we will create our own Dockerized application, and this Dockerized application we will provide to this container orchestration tool, and container orchestration tool will automatically decide whether for that same applications 2 containers to be created or 10 containers to be created or 200 containers to be created or 300 containers to be created. So that decision will be taken by that particular container orchestration tool by incoming request load. So that means scale in, scale out to be automatically handled so that your application will always be kept available. So that orchestration tool we actually call as the Kubernetes. जैसे आजकल हम बोलते हैं ना कि हमारे पास GitHub पे है लेकिन GitHub के साथ में GitHub Copilot है.
Yeah.
तो आजकल का जमाना है ऐसे कि कोई बोलता है कि मेरे पास मर्सिडीज है लेकिन वो बोलता है नहीं मेरे पास Copilot है. Why? Because the Copilot, that means he would be guiding me. Okay, even though I will be sitting at the driver's seat, but actually गाड़ी कहाँ पे घुमानी है क्या घुमाना है, I think he is the right person. He is a navigator. क्या बोला मैंने word कौन सा यूज किया? Navigator. Navigator बोलता है, navigator आपको बोलता है कि गाड़ी कहाँ पे घुमानी है, कितने स्पीड से चलानी है. मुझे तो सिर्फ उसको सुनना है. Are you getting no? तो Kubernetes, so Kubernetes is actually something like a navigator. Okay, that actually decides the requirements coming increasing, because in Diwali vacation festival seasons, I think existing like 70-80 containers will not be sufficient. Might be it requires something called 10,000 containers to be started. That means 10,000 same web applications created and running, and the request will be now routed to those all particular 7. And now if the festival season is over, then automatically request load is being down. So what this particular Kubernetes will do, they will reduce those containers and keep only those containers which are really required over there. So don't think because of that your cloud ka billing also will be optimized. And
Yes, sir.
here the whole process will be totally automated.
Yes.
No human being required. So human being is only required to give guidelines for a Kubernetes how to manage it here. And that is the kind of file people write, YAML file. Okay, YAML file. Like here we learn Docker file. For that Kubernetes we want to learn YAML file. And if you want to see, Kubernetes concept was actually given by Google, but now every cloud has got that concept. If you come across, so again one more thing, if number of requests will be increasing, this number of contents to be run, no. So this number of contents to be run, they will require the CPU and hardware resource, no. Yes.
Yes.
So that means behind this Kubernetes we decide if you want to keep this contents perfect running, do I have to keep 2 EC2 instances running or 3 EC2 instances running? Even it will guide. Okay, now I wanted a cluster of 2 EC2 instances. No, I want a cluster with 20. So if the request is increasing, this all kind of containers to be launched, we require that much of virtualized hardware behind, no? So it will
Yes.
create something called like a Kubernetes cluster, and under that it will have those particular instances running, EC2 instances. But when the requests are getting reduced, automatically some instances will be closed, EC2 instances, and only required instance will be kept running, and over there only some containers run. So we just want to get away from this whole kind of administrative work. So during that time, you always come back to the AWS and find your services. So in Amazon, that particular service is called, can you get your containers word? See? When you click on the containers word, can you get your word something called Elastic Container
Elastic
Service? So highly secure, reliable, scalable way to run containers. And you really have here. So I think somewhere last time I created some kind of container. So means what is to be done? You have to really create that particular cluster. So you just go and define that cluster, how many instances require all those things, okay, you know, and over there you will just push your EC2 your Dockerize application, and you start now container. How many containers to be created? You don't require Docker knowledge also. You don't require this Docker command knowledge also. Everything will be totally handled. So many uh, live business applications are actually using Kubernetes. Now, the Kubernetes solution here you call as a Elastic Container Service. In Azure, it is called Azure Container Service, and in Google, it is called Kubernetes. That's it. And that Kubernetes internally maintains the cluster. Under the cluster, they will have pod, and the pod will have something called like a registry, and that is where the things has been organized. So that is what is architecture there. But I think this much of knowledge is sufficient for us, correct? No? But so even if someone is interested, anyone can find good basic introduction video on YouTube. Okay.
Yes.
Somewhere in my .NET I also mentioned about that. If I could know, because there I just mentioned the step for Kubernetes your .NET application. So it's a GitHub Ravi Tamade TFL.NET repository.
Yes, sir. Below that container one there was.
हाँ यहाँ पे एक नीचे कहीं तो लिंक होगा ना. Yeah, this one, deploying ASP.NET to Kubernetes. So what are the key concepts of Kubernetes? Container, cluster, then you have your nodes, master and slave, and then you'll have pods and deployment. Then what is service? What is namespace? What is ingress? Then features and benefits of Kubernetes, container orchestration, scalability, fault tolerance. Even by chance some particular containers are stopped, automatically they will be restarted. Self-healing. Use cases of containers, microservice architecture point of view, this Kubernetes been used. Okay, you want to make your complete software development process totally CI/CD pipeline, so you use Kubernetes. Now, if I want to go for it here, so एक ASP.NET Core का application आपके पास चाहिए, Docker and Kubernetes cluster आपके पास होना चाहिए. Okay, and then जैसे उसको एक्सेस करने के लिए हमारे पास कुछ तो शेल चाहिए ना, जिससे कमांड डाल सकते हैं. kubectl नाम तो उसका कमांड लाइन होगा जहां से हम सारी कमांड डालेंगे. तो ये फाइन डॉकर फाइल, या ये है डॉकर फाइल किसका, .NET एप्लीकेशन का. फ्रॉम पुश, ये देखो डॉकर बिल्ड कमांड, डॉकर पुश कमांड मिला ना, डॉकर
Yes.
पुश कमांड. लेकिन वो कहाँ पे पुश करेगा, डॉकर हब पे करेगा. इफ यू हैव योर ओन डॉकर हब लॉगिन आईडी, और फिर उसके लिए ये कुबरनेटिस को सेट करने के लिए आपको कौन सी फाइल लिखनी पड़ेगी,
deployment.
deployment.yaml file, and under that you'll have these commands. तो इसका भी हर एक का मतलब है. So just for your sake, go and see that thing. Correct? No? YAML
Yes, sir.
file. Remember from MCQ exam point of view, a YAML file, या Docker file, या XML file, या XAML file. I think such kind of would be given for finding key, which is the important file format we use for Kubernetes applications. Making your application available for the Kubernetes.
Yes.
So again, today also we learn one more we climb one more height, and we are going towards the peak. So the way today you enjoyed about this particular thing, DevOps world, DevOps learning, DevOps things. Tomorrow we like to focus on what? Software testing. And people always say software testing, किसी को job नहीं मिलता उसने software testing करना चाहिए. Okay, if that is the situation, so please change your mind. Come with a different mindset. Otherwise, come with your wrong mindset. By the end of tomorrow's session, your mindset will be changed about the software testing.
Okay, sir.
So thank you very much, and see you tomorrow 8 o'clock. I will upload this content. I also try to see if I could make some important MCQs for you. Trainer should spend his time for creating MCQs. I think I don't like it. It is exactly, I feel I'm doing some kind of work in my college, my school, and my teacher is actually giving me VVIP. You know, तो स्टूडेंट पढ़ाई कर रही है, टीचर पढ़ाई कर रही है, समझा रहा है. पढ़ाई तो स्टूडेंट ने करनी चाहिए, टीचर ने गाइडलाइन देनी चाहिए. अभी आप स्टूडेंट सारे लोग हमसे टीचर से एमसीक्यू मांगे तो हम ही ज्यादा पढ़ाई कर रहे हैं. आप तो सिर्फ वो एमसीक्यू पढ़ के पढ़ाई करोगे. अब अभी ऐसे मत बोलो नहीं सर हम पढ़ाई करना